Hello everyone, this is Donna and welcome to the Vote Voice podcast, dedicated to voter education, voter registration, mobilization, and vote protecting information. I'm your host, Donna Miller, and I'm thrilled to be with you today. Before we start, I want to remind you to subscribe to the Vote Voice podcast, like and share it with everyone in Michigan and the surrounding states. We're dedicated to helping you make informed decisions about voting, and we can't do it without your help. Now, today, let's talk about Florida's anti-immigration bill, Senate Bill 1718. Now, it just passed, and it will start July 1st, 2023. Now, in Florida, the GOP, the Republicans, are pleading with migrant workers to stay regardless of the laws they have just passed. Now, Ron DeSantis has signed this law into effect. Now, as I said before, it will go into effect July 1st. Now, this legislation limits social services for undocumented immigrants. It allocates millions of tax dollars to expand Ron DeSantis's migrant relocation program. It will invalidate all of the people's driver's license as an undocumented person from other states. You see, some states will give an undocumented person ID, driver's license, state ID, but if this migrant worker, which migrant workers come into the country just temporarily to work and then they go back home. When I was a college student in the state of Arizona, in Tucson, Arizona, every day the university had a program where people came from Mexico every day to go to school. They would come, take classes, and go back home. Now, this new bill that is going into effect July 1st also requires hospitals that get Medicaid dollars to ask for a patient's immigration status. So that means that every time someone goes into the hospital, whether it's you or I in the state of Florida, they are required to ask you about your immigration status. They were already, as some of us may have seen on the news, stopping people that had roadblocks, stopping people, requiring people to identify themselves. Are you an immigrant or are you an American? Yes, in Florida. Let us continue, people. My point of telling you this is so that you will understand how important it is for us as voters to understand who we are putting in office. What it means is that I'm not telling you who to vote for. What it means is that as you're deciding who to vote for, you shouldn't vote lightly. That is what I'm telling you. Because this bill also is cracking down on businesses who hire undocumented workers. Now, you must understand that the farmers have migrant workers come in to work and they go back home. But what this bill has done is that it's made it more difficult for migrants to work in Florida, and apparently, from what we understand from the news programs, people are leaving in droves. Nobody is staying to work. Come July 1st, they become targets of what? Targets of people who are mindless. Okay, let me going to tell you that this SB 1718 will require private employers with 25 or more employees that are making new hires to use the E as in Edward Verify, the federal online database that workers use to confirm whether someone is eligible to work in the U.S. Now, if they don't use this, or if someone comes in and says they're not undocumented, they will be committing a felony, and the employer has to pay $1,000 a day. Now, understand, this is a bill, okay, that Republicans have put in place, that the governor has signed a bill that is going into law July 1st. Now, the Republican Party is saying to people in meetings that, oh, this bill is not, basically it's not important. Okay, now I'm just exaggerating, I'm just pushing things together. They're saying that this is a political bill. It's not policy. Okay, people, let me say something. That is a lie. All right? This bill is not a political bill. They're saying don't pay any attention to this bill because it really doesn't mean what it says. And we're really, really not going to deport you. We're really, really not going to outlaw or invalidate your driver's license. We're really, really not going to charge you with a felony. And we're really, really not going to charge the farmers $1,000 a day if they don't use E-Verify. People, Senate Bill 1718 is policy. It's a policy created by the legislators in Florida, signed into law that will start July 1st by the governor. There is no such thing as a bill that is signed by the governor, passed by the politicians, and enacted on a certain day that's just a fluff piece. There's no such thing as it being just a political bill. They are saying to people, to the farmers, they are saying, okay, that this bill does not give police state powers going forward to deal with immigration. That's a lie. Okay? If anybody breaks this law, they can be taken to court, they can be charged, they can be fined, they can be deported, they can have their license invalidated, they cannot go to the hospital. You cannot. Hospitals will be fined. Who knows what else will happen to the hospitals? Possibly they could lose their Medicaid benefits. People who do not ask a nurse or an admitting nurse. An admitting nurse who does not ask you to prove that you are not an immigrant, if she does not or he does not ask you these questions, they can be fired. Okay? The fact that this bill is going into power July 1st, it is a true law. And the idea that the Republicans are now saying, oh no, we really, really didn't pass this law, is ridiculous. Now, here's the interesting part, okay? They're not repealing this law. There are no calls, okay, to repeal this law. There are no calls from the Republicans in Florida to have the governor not signed this bill. He signed it. It's done. It's going into law July 1st. The idea that we have politicians today that create a bill that's anti-immigrant, that is preventing people who lawfully come to America to work, to help farmers to harvest their crops. They've been doing this for decades. They come, they work hard, they earn their money, and they go home. Now the migrants, thank God, are taking care of themselves. They're leaving Florida because these laws aren't everywhere. Okay? They can go to other states and work and go home. Now, if these politicians are in Florida, in the legislature, whose fault is that? The voters? That's on you and me. If we have people in Washington that aren't doing their job, whose fault is that? Ours. It's our fault that this is happening in Florida. It's the voters' fault because the voter put those people in power. They didn't just sashay up there one day or drop from a UFO into their seats. They did not. They campaigned. They went through a rigorous system to become candidates. They went to candidate forums. They knocked on your door. They had interviews. They mailed you literature. You didn't make a blind decision. You made a decision to put those people in power. Everyone in Florida made a decision. Voters made a decision and put those people in power. The farmers put them in power. The residents put them in power. This, what's happening in Florida, is going to affect us countrywide, maybe even worldwide, because some of these things that they're picking in Florida are being sent to other countries. So we, the people, are responsible for what's going on in Florida. We're responsible when we do not pay attention to gerrymandering. We're responsible when we think it's a game show to watch people say ridiculous things in Washington and we think it's funny. We are responsible for the people in Florida who wrote a bill, who aren't even talking about rescinding that bill, but they're telling everyone the bill doesn't matter. We've written it into law. We want the migrants to ignore it, and we want the farmers to ignore it. Can you imagine writing a bill saying that I'm going to charge you $1,000 a day, but tell you to ignore that bill? That you really, really don't have to use E-Verify? Do you hear what they're saying to people? They're telling people there's a law that we've created that requires you to use E-Verify, but we want you to break the law, ignore the law, and just get people to work because we have signed a bill that really doesn't make any sense and it's hurting us, but we're not going to repeal it. We want you to lie. We want to have this bill on the works, on paper, so we can say to people, we're tough on immigrants. We're tough on migrant workers. We don't want migrant workers here. Oh, yes, wait a minute. We really do want migrant workers here. We are going to charge you $1,000 if you don't use E-Verify. $1,000 a day. Oh no, we're really not going to charge you $1,000 a day. Ignore everything that's in the law. ignore it. Okay? This law gives police the power and even more power to pick up anybody on the street and say, "Where's your papers?" Kind of like the Gestapo. Isn't it? Kind of like the KGB. Isn't it? You're not free to walk down the street in Florida. They can pick you up if your skin is brown or black, and basically they can ship you out if they want to, no matter what you say. They could say that your ID is not valid because of the law, couldn't they? And whether you're here or not, American or not, Hispanic or not, black or white or not, they can take anybody they want off the streets in Florida and send them to Mexico and make you prove that you're an American. Because imagine the police pick you up, the Gestapo, the Florida Gestapo, pick you up, put you across the border. Nobody knows what happened to you. You can't speak the language. You don't even know anything about Mexico. Where is the American consulate in Mexico? Do you know? I don't know. How are you going to save yourself if you're in Florida and they pick you up and you have a police officer who has a bad day, don't like you anyway because of the color of your skin, and maybe he thinks you're too uppity, and he knows that you are an American, but he doesn't care because SB 1718 gives him the power to pick you up and ship you out of the country. That is what people in Florida voted for. Let me just say this, okay? It's important that we vote in local elections. You see, local elections voted the Republicans in Florida in office. It's not political to say that Florida Republicans passed this bill because the Democrats didn't. It's nonpartisan to say that because it's fact. You, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you need to know who you're voting for. And these people, the Republicans, just like they did the same thing in Brexit. They said, this is going to be better for you. You're going to get jobs and life's going to be better. It's a lie, people. It's a lie. The Florida Republicans told everybody, you'll have more jobs if we keep the migrants out. A lie. Okay, very quickly. Local elections affect your daily life more than national elections. Local officials make decisions about schools, roads, parks, immigration laws. Local elections can have a direct impact on your taxes and property values. Voting in local elections can lead to better representation in your community. Voting is your civic duty, and it's the best way to make a difference in your state. Listen, everybody. That's all we have for today. Remember, local elections matter. Floridians will tell you, and your vote can make a difference. Don't forget to subscribe to Vote Voice Podcast. Like and share it with your friends and family. Thank you. You guys, you have a nice day.